Hello, and welcome to the KU Career Center's presentation on cover letters. Before we start talking about cover letters, I wanted to share an overview of the services offered by the University Career Center. Broadly speaking, we work with undergraduates and graduates in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, which covers lots of different majors and career paths, helping students and alumni with things like major and career exploration, job searches, application documents, connecting to other people who work in fields that interest you, and interview prep. So basically, if it relates to your job interests, we are here to help. We'll meet with you by phone or video chat, and when campus is open, we will meet in person as well. Probably the most common questions that I hear about cover letters are, one, what are they? And two, what should they do? And those are understandable questions. If you've already submitted a resume or filled out an application form, it can be tough to understand the purpose of a cover letter. Basically, a cover letter is a brief document, usually of about one page, that provides examples to an employer of some of your most relevant experience for a particular job while also conveying your interest in that position. As you can see on the slide on the screen, there are a few main components of this. A cover letter demonstrates written communication skills. If the role requires lots of writing, this is a chance to make a great first impression. And even if it doesn't, it's a nice way to showcase skills that other candidates may not have as strongly. A cover letter communicates fit and value to an employer. This section lets you connect the dots, so to speak, and tells an employer exactly why you are the right choice for them. Cover letters convey a desire to work for a specific organization. This means conveying to an employer that you genuinely understand who they are and what they're trying to achieve, and not just that you're looking for any type of work out there. And finally, a cover letter should complement your other application materials. This allows you to provide more detail about something that you reference on the resume or draw attention to an aspect of your qualifications that weren't easily summed up elsewhere. Remember, cover letters don't just repeat what's on the resume, they complement it. So that is what a cover letter is trying to do. Let's move now to focusing on how a cover letter should look. So on the screen currently, above on the left, you can see an example of a typical cover letter layout. This one is pretty straightforward. It's easy to read. It follows an understandable layout, and generally it looks like a piece of professional correspondence. Tips for formatting the cover letter are included on the right side of the slide. You want to use the same font and header that you used on your resume. This is a nice touch just because it establishes visual consistency and demonstrates attention to detail. And you want to make sure that you include the contact information for the addressee. On this letter, it's Ms. Betty Smith, the Human Resources Director for Big Time Software. And again, this is because a cover letter is meant to look like a letter, so you should include the address. This also demonstrates that you've tailored the letter to a particular employer rather than sending out a form letter. So another piece of advice is to use a colon after the name of the addressee. I think you'll see conflicting advice about this. A colon or a comma is generally fine, but do make sure that you include something to mark the end of the salutation line. You want to block paragraphs with one space in between them, simply because it's easier to read this way than if you indent paragraphs. So make sure that you justify all addresses and paragraphs to the left margin, as this letter does. You want to make sure that you're being succinct, you're being concise. Typically speaking, cover letters are going to be 3 to 4 paragraphs of no more than one full page. That's standard for most fields. One notable exception is if you're applying for jobs in academia, where the letters tend to be a bit longer and more involved. And finally, do leave space for a signature at the bottom of the letter. If you're hand mailing an application, a handwritten signature is generally expected, provided that that's not an accessibility challenge for you. But for online applications, this isn't typically expected. If you do want to include it, I'll include instructions on how to do that later in the presentation. So now we've covered the purpose of a cover letter and what a cover letter should look like. So I'm guessing your next big question is, okay, but what should I include? How do I know what to talk about in a cover letter? Typically speaking, you want to make sure that each paragraph in your letter conveys information that is going to answer the employer's question, why should we interview you for this role? That seems straightforward, but what it really means is that you have to write your letter so that it makes clear how you as a candidate meet their needs as employers. The number one issue I see in cover letters that I review is candidates who focus so much on how great the role would be for them that they forget that they need to spell out why they are good for the employer. You do this by focusing on the experience and qualifications that you bring to the table. The slide currently on the screen points to types of skills that you might have, like research, languages, and technology, or experience you might have gained through projects, student organizations, leadership roles that have helped you prepare to do the job that you're applying for, the kinds of things that you've already included in a shorter form on your resume. Your cover letter should provide more detail about some of these experiences and help create a picture of the kind of candidate you are. Each paragraph in a cover letter plays a specific role, and with a few exceptions, they tend to follow a pretty set format. The opening paragraph is designed to catch the reader's attention and make it immediately clear which role you're applying for with an organization. The body paragraphs, there's usually one or two, communicate your skills and experience by providing specific examples of why you know you're qualified for the job in question. These are usually the longest paragraphs in the letter. And the final paragraph is designed to make the reader take action, that is, to offer you an interview. You want to wrap up by reiterating your interest and making sure that you leave a strong last impression. So let's break the paragraphs down individually, starting with the first paragraph. On the screen on the left is a sample opening paragraph for an account executive position with a media group. Feel free to pause this video and read through it. In general, the first paragraph of a cover letter should open by specifying the specific position with the specific organization that you are applying for. This can be as simple as saying something like, "It is with great enthusiasm that I write to apply for the role of job X with company Y." It can also be a good idea to include how you learned about the role, whether that's from a job board, the company's social media, which shows that you follow them on social media, a contact who works there if they've given you permission to mention them, or another method, but this isn't required. You should include a line or two here that speaks about why you're specifically interested in this company. Is it their reputation for success in the field, their incredible employee support programs? And close the paragraph by, again, emphasizing that you meet their needs. The middle paragraphs, or body paragraphs, are where you provide the additional detail and discuss your strongest qualifications for the position. And you should be providing specific examples to support your candidacy. For example, if you're applying for a role that involves a lot of remote data entry and your degree involves tracking data closely, you can say something like, "As part of my coursework in XYZ, I learned to input and closely track large data sets over long periods of time for use in projects ranging from A to B, and the accuracy of my data monitoring contributed to an overall success rate of X% in experimental uses." Again, the idea is to provide specific, clear examples of how your skills meet their needs. And if you have more than one body paragraph, it's a good idea to split them into themes. In the example on this screen, this paragraph focuses on the writer's experience in communication, public speaking, and sales, while the paragraph on the following screen speaks to the applicant's other qualifications. And it's important to remember that in most cases, you should address more than just the technical skills required for the role. Employers want to hear about your so-called soft skills, things like leadership, self-motivation, teamwork, and see examples of how those soft skills help you contribute to their goals. So think critically about what might be most relevant for the positions you're applying for. For example, in the paragraph on the screen, the applicant for the sales role emphasizes their independence and their motivation, which are crucial for a field like sales. If you're applying for, say, nonprofit roles, the organizations may want to hear about your dedication to their mission and their aims. Obviously, don't make that up if you haven't had a strong connection to their type of work in the past, but if you have, it's a great detail to include. Finally, the closing paragraph should very briefly reiterate your interest, provide your contact information, thank the employer for considering you, and close with your name. Depending on how you're applying, you may also want to suggest the next steps that you'll plan to take. And by that, I mean that if you're applying for an unlisted position or sending a cold application, it can be helpful to include a line saying that you'll reach out within the next 1 to 2 weeks to try to schedule a meeting, as the writer of the letter on this slide does in the sentence starting with, "I will call you early next week." However, if you're applying through a formal application process where you've seen a job listing and they say apply via this method by this date, the organization will decide whether it wants to contact you, and it may be frustrated if you try to go around that process, so you can probably leave this line out. Another question that we're sometimes asked is whether a cover letter needs to have a digital signature over your type name. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, this is really up to you. If you are submitting the application in hard copy and it doesn't present an accessibility challenge, a handwritten signature is expected and it is a nice touch. But if you're submitting online, it's not required. If you do want to include it, you can either print the letter out, sign it, and then upload the version with the signature to your application, or sign a piece of paper, scan and upload it to a computer, save the signature as a JPEG, and insert it into any additional document that you have. And finally, a few last-minute pro tips. As we mentioned earlier, make sure to address your cover letter to a specific person. If there's a name on the job listing, you can use that one. You can also use the head of human resources for the organization. If you can't find a name, it is perfectly acceptable to call the company directly, explain that you're applying for role X, and we're wondering to whom you should address your cover letter. Again, as we mentioned, use the same header on the resume and cover letter. It creates visual consistency and it does demonstrate attention to detail, which is a key aspect of many roles. And as we discussed a bit, make sure that you have gone through the job listing and highlighted the specific skills and qualities that you want to reference in your cover letter. It's a good idea to use some of the same language from the post in the letter itself. For example, if the job posting mentions needing strong communication skills, make sure that that wording appears in your letter too. Because if the letter is being reviewed by a computerized applicant tracking system, or ATS, it may be scanning for particular phrases in letters. Side note, one piece of advice that I've seen recently online is to copy and paste the job posting into your letter in all white text so that an ATS will see those words and will automatically forward you on. Do not do this. Another thing about ATSs is that they will convert everything in the letter to black text. So when it goes to the hiring manager, they will see the full wording that you included in white text in black text. You will not get an interview if you do this. Do take the time to customize your letter for each position. This does not mean completely rewriting the letter from the ground up, but it does mean making sure that you have the correct position title and company name in place, that you have focused on what is most important for this job in the letter. If you're applying for similar types of positions with multiple organizations, you'll probably have a lot of overlap, but you may still need to make some tweaks in each letter so that it's clear this isn't just a one-size-fits-all application. And finally, if you have the time, reach out to the UCC to have your letter reviewed by a career coach. We are happy to read through the job descriptions and help tailor a letter to highlight your best qualifications, as well as to review the structure, the organization, and grammatical correctness of the letter. I hope this answers many of your cover letter related questions, but please don't hesitate to reach out to the UCC about any career related questions you might have. When campus is open, we're located in Summerfield Hall 206. We're also available remotely via phone at 785-864-3624, via email at ucc@ku.edu, and for video appointments online. If you'd like to schedule an appointment, you can call the UCC or sign up online via hirejayhawks.ku.edu using the Counseling tab. Thank you for taking the time to view this presentation, and rock chalk!